Welcome to REIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of REIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is inspections. Hiring a professional inspector can help you identify potential issues that may not be visible to even the experienced real estate investor. This includes problems with the structure, electrical systems, plumbing, and other important aspects of the property. By hiring an expert, you can be confident that the inspection is comprehensive and accurate, which can ultimately save you money. An inspection report can be used to renegotiate the price of the property if that seller was not honest with you about the condition of the property. The inspection report can also be used as a scope of work for your contractors, detailing specific issues. So, investing a couple $100 in an inspection during your due diligence period can help ensure that you're making an informed decision and that your investment is protected. Now on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us my new friend, Michael Banovac. Michael's expertise encompasses real estate, marketing, and internet entrepreneurship. He currently holds an Arizona real estate license with the agency at eXp Realty and is partners with our mutual friend, Tarek El Moussa, the star of HGTV's Flipper Flop, Flipping 101, and my favorite, the Flipping El Moussas. Michael prides himself as the agent of choice for any professional seeking to buy or sell residential real estate in Arizona. Beyond his experience as an agent, from 2012 to 2021, he and his partners acquired, built, remodeled, and or sold over 180 homes with a value in excess of $100 million. I had the pleasure of meeting him recently at Tarek's Flipping Summit in Scottsdale and knew immediately I had to get him on the show. So welcome, Michael.
Thanks, Jen. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
How about that intro, huh?
It's lovely. I really appreciate the kind words.
Oh my goodness. You have a presence about yourself. I'm like, this guy's a badass. I got to find out who he is. Because right before I started talking to you, I was just introducing myself around and they said, oh, I work for Michael. I'm here for my, I'm like, who's this Michael cat? So we chatted briefly out on the lawn for one of the cocktail parties. But anyway, I'm so glad to get you on the show. I have been studying up on you, and tell us, how did you get involved in real estate?
I got in real estate actually at the age of 18. So after I graduated from high school, my dad said, you need to get your real estate license. Whether you use it or not, you're going to need it for the rest of your life. And so literally the day I turned 18 is the day I got my license. So it's been a fun and interesting ride. And I know a lot of your listeners are in the space, and I'm sure they can attest to the highs and lows of the business. And it's a great profession. I really love it.
And you work with Tarek at the agency, and it's agency. So tell me about that.
Tarek and I met about a year and a half ago, and we met with our mutual friend, Brian Colhane. And Brian Colhane was one of the co-founders of eXp Realty. And the reason we met is my team and I built Brian's home in North Scottsdale. So it was a beautiful build to suit, about an $8 million house. And it's a spectacular, I think, monument of what eXp became, and also a great place to train and help agents kind of live their best lives and make sure that they're successful in their businesses.
Well, I personally do not have the patience to have a real estate license. I'm telling you, my husband has his, we own a brokerage as well, but the questions that come in, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no patience for that. I just want to be like, do your own work. So EXP is so different from all the other agencies out there. So tell a little bit about how it works. You guys don't even have offices, correct? There's like no overhead, but I know a lot of investors like hanging their license with EXP. So talk about the advantages of hanging your license with EXP.
Yeah. And I mean, I had my own brokerage as well. I still own a brokerage with my father. And EXP is a great model. I mean, Gary Keller made it with Keller Williams is the fastest growing, agent brokerage model in the United States in the mid 1990s. And then our CEO, Glenn Sanford, worked for Gary Keller as one of his top liaisons, I would say, at the company, and wanted to go in and kind of purchase a part of the company. Gary said no. So he said, well, I'm going to do my own thing. So he took the Keller Williams model, rejiggered it, and they went public about 2018, if memory serves me correct. We're traded on the NASDAQ. And, over the past few years, we had exponential growth. We grew to one of the fastest and largest real estate brokerages in the world now, not just the United States. We're close to 90,000 agents in over 14 countries. And the reason the model works well is because it kind of gets rid of the brick and mortar model. I think a lot of the stressors for real estate agents, one obviously is the procurement of leads. The second is all the fixed expense that comes with being a real estate agent and growing your team. So what EXP does so well is it basically is the Shopify, let's say, of the real estate business, where it's a plug and play system, where if you have the right connections, the right upline, the right partners, really sky is the limit. Now, like anything, you have to do the work. I think a lot of people think, oh, if I just join, we call them flippers, right? No, not like Tarek's flipping, but flippers in the form of brokerages. They change brokerages every year or two.
Yes.
Thinking that it will change their business. And there's only one common factor towards success, and that's yourself. So I think it's a wonderful model only because it helps agents make money in three different ways. Obviously, the buying and selling of homes, that's common, 80-20 split. The second, obviously, is the growth of your downline, which a lot of people look down on, but it's no different than me referring business to you in North Carolina or vice versa.
Now, I have heard people call it a pyramid scheme, and I know it's not one, but it is kind of like that. So there's people over you, and you want to recruit people underneath you, and do you get a portion of their, how does that work?
So how it works is there's an 80-20 split to the company. So you get 80, the company gets 20, up to a $16,000 cap.
Oh.
And of that 20%, which is that $16,000 cap, instead of that money going directly to the company, it goes to your upline agents. So Brian Colhane, the co-founder, makes a little piece of that $16,000 every year. Tarek El Moussa makes a little piece of that $16,000 a year, and other agents as well, and vice versa. So agents that you met at the actual event, I get the same. But the difference is this, right? It's not like I'm paying Tarek directly. The company's paying him.
Exactly.
It's monies I would have already been spending as well. So I look at it as part of a branding expense, right? 20% that goes to the business. I would happily pay Tarek $16,000 a year to use his likeness, use his brand, and help grow his industry and his organization. So to me, it's a no-brainer. I think it's a great opportunity. And then lastly, obviously you can earn stock. So as you sell more houses and as your agents do well as well, you earn small chunks of stock throughout your working. So it really is a great model if you're looking for a long-term growth perspective, because I think the biggest struggle and why most agents don't make more collectively than $40,000 a year across the United States is they only make money one way, right? Buying and selling of homes. This creates the opportunity to make money three different ways and have an exit strategy for you if you were to retire the business.
So do other brokerages offer stock, or are you like the only one?
We're one of the few companies that do. I know we're, I think, one of the first. I know a lot of the agent models are changing because of that, right? A company called Real, REAL, was a spinoff of EXP, smaller version, similar construct. And then there are other companies that are looking to do the same because they saw the success of EXP. To me, it doesn't matter where you hang your license. What matters is, what are you doing to procure business yourself? What are you doing to help those around you in your sphere? And what are you doing differently than those that aren't successful? That's always been my mantra.
I love that. And I mean, I truly do think it's a great model because you're just helping each other. And
Right.
like to have that foresight, am I saying that right? Foresight to, you have COVID coming up where everything's getting shut down. And here you guys are already basically virtual. You don't have the brick and mortar businesses. And what a very successful organization it is. So, and if people want to join underneath you, how would they find you for that?
They just go to join.michaelbanovac.com. And we offer a lot of, I think, coaching and also different opportunities that a lot of agents, don't offer. And one of the things I would caution, I think a lot of people think by joining any, organization, it changes your life. You do the changing. Have people in the organization can add to that fire, but at the end really, starts and ends with you. So
I love that you said that, Michael, because so many people join real estate and join, say, Tark's flipping program, his homeschooled by Tark Al Musa, and thinking it's a get rich quick scheme. And and you're very successful, but I love that you're saying it takes the hard work. You got to put the action into it. So I had you fill out a questionnaire before, and one of the bullet points on here, I'm dying to hear about this, is how you became a millionaire by the age of 27. Now, by the way, I was a school teacher at 27. I didn't even know how to spell millionaire back then. So tell me, I did. I was a school teacher. Well, I taught music, not spelling. But tell me how you became a millionaire by the age of 27.
It's something that I'm very passionate about, and I teach all my agents as well. And then how I did it was I bought my first house at 22. A lot of listeners can, understand this. And I did just a conventional loan. I put 5% down, all the money in the world. I remember that deal like it was yesterday. It was $8,000 to buy a $253,000 house. And I was scared to death going to that signing thinking, oh my goodness, what have I done? Fast forward a decade, I still own that property. It's worth $550,000, and now it makes me passively, as it's paid off, about $3,000 a month in income. And so, how I made money, and I think a lot of people could attest to this, was it wasn't earned income, and I really want to stress that because it's very hard to earn your way to millionaire status. It's a lot easier to invest your way to millionaire status. And having it done a lot of fix and flips, there was a lot of tax ramifications for me doing that. But buying and owning real estate in perpetuity really changed the trajectory of my life. I owned 5 primary residences, or I do now. By the time I was 27, I owned 3.
Wow.
And that really, really helped because I had low interest debt. I had the wave of appreciation behind me. I had strong rents. And with that leverage, that safe leverage at sub 4%, 30-year fixed rates, I was able basically to turn 200,000 into $1 million in less than 5 years. And that was a blessing for sure. But anyone can do it, especially if you have the tenacity and willingness to learn.
All right. So you had the first house. How'd you get the next 2?
So I bought it at 22 with the intent of living in it. That's big here for mortgages, especially for primaries. Never did, actually. I rented it 9 months later because circumstances changed. And I rented it for about $400 more than what I was paying in my mortgage. I put a long-term tenant in there. And then as I started making a little more money flipping and building houses, I started to realize banks would give me 70% loan to value of long-term leases. So let's say that lease, to make it simple, was $2,000 a month times 12 is $24,000 a year. They were going to give me an extra $18,000 a year in income based on that lease. So with that extra income, I bought another house, right, at 24. And then I did it again. Another year later, I bought another house at 27. And by the third house, I had enough appreciation and enough equity buildup and enough rental income to where on paper I was worth $1 million. So it was pretty interesting to go from 22 to 27, from 0 to $1 million that quickly, not based on earned income, but rather based on investment and long-term rental income.
Wow. Well, listeners, Pay attention because this is so great. I bought my first house at the age of 22, and I think I paid like $54,000. I'm just a tad bit older than you, Michael, and
you don't look it.
I'll pay you later. Then 4 years later, I put it towards my next house. I should have kept that first one. That was my mistake. Was moving on, but everything kept doubling in price. So I was just riding that wave, but that is excellent. So you are in the luxury home market, and I stalked you a little bit and was checking out your website, and some of these photos are amazing. And probably one of my biggest takeaways from the Flipping Summit with Tarek El Moussa is between Tarek and Candy Valentino, who was on stage, my twin sister, by the way. And she said it takes as much effort to flip $100,000 home than it does to flip $1 million home. And I was like, damn, she's so good. So I got home. I'm focused on multifamily now. I'm kind of over my just the single family home. I've been doing it for a few years, and I'm moving on to multifamily. I've been doing it. We just have one property so far, but dealing with other real estate investors, like there's no emotion. It's lovely. So this one property comes up in an area that is up and coming. We got it under contract for just shy of $400,000, and the comps in the area for the newer homes, the rebuilds, are between like 1.1 for the smaller ones, all the way up to 1.6. So what advice do you have for me this will be my first, like luxury type home. So what are some things that I really need to make sure I pay attention to when I'm building this home?
That's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that. Number one,
I hope you can answer it for me.
Yeah, well, I can answer it.
I'm sure you can.
The most important thing is making sure you have the right debt on the property. And even more important than that is the location, right? With the wrong lot, you could build the Taj Mahal and it won't be worth anything. So I always stress, focus on location before you focus on anything else. And what I do is...
Hold on, but what makes it a bad lot?
View placement, phone lines, power lines, barking dogs, obstructions, commercial properties next to it, things of that nature, right? Residential is a lot more location specific and lot specific than commercial and multifamily. So in building a property, the best thing to do is make sure that once you have the lot in place, which it sounds like you do, get your permits and everything in place and make sure that you have an excellent floor plan. Really study the floor plan. Make sure you don't have a lot of wasted hall space, and make sure that you have the right bedroom and or bathroom count, as well as the right garage count for that area. You always want to lean on more extravagant and more generous than stingy. And the biggest thing most people mess up on in luxury is they don't have enough garage space. Usually, I don't know what the market's like in North Carolina, but in Arizona, you're not going to be building a $2 million plus house without 3-car garage. That's bare minimum. Once it goes above 3 or 4 million, 4 is the minimum. So that's one thing. The other thing is room size and room generosity, right? You want everything en suite. You want everything to have a walk-in closet if you can, a walk-in bath, and focus the money in a few different areas. One is kitchen appliances. I always say that's the jewelry of the home. You want name recognition, you want name brand. And luxury, we always go with Sub-Zero and Wolf because people understand it. And then other than that, you want 1 or 2 wow factors, right?
Ooh, I love it.
And the wow factors can be maybe a great window package in the living room, maybe sliding doors that go into the walls. Maybe it's the lighting, right? Maybe you want to do really great stuff with lighting. Maybe it's the landscaping. Landscaping is something that's really overlooked. But you want 1 or 2 pops of excitement that differentiates you from your competitors. And then lastly, which is, I think, most important, is a beautiful home does not show as a beautiful home unless it is staged perfection. So when you're done, especially in the luxury market, it must be staged in the living room, the dining room, the master bedroom, the kitchen areas to perfection. The rest of the secondary rooms don't matter. But you want to make sure that those twilight photos, after it is staged or captured to perfection, do a pre-market launch before you go on your MLS in that area. generate a lot of buzz before you actually bring it to market. And hopefully you'll sell it quickly.
This is awesome. I love this. So let's just break it down here. So the lot itself, it's longer than wide. And in Raleigh, North Carolina, where I'm located, we have an issue with the missing middle, which is your duplexes, triplexes, and quads. And there is a high-end duplex going up, being built about 3 houses away. But then there's one a little further down the road. But then the rest of them are all these, McMansions that we call them. And one issue with this lot, so you got me thinking about this, is there is a building in the back of the lot behind us, and it's ugly green. And it blows my mind here. If I'm buying $1 million home, I want to park my car in the garage and then walk into my house. All of these houses in this neighborhood have the detached garage with the ADU above it, an additional dwelling unit for some maybe mother-in-law suite or whatever. So I'm going to just keep following the trends and do a detached garage, but I'm hoping we can design it so we can cover up that monstrosity of that green building or whatever it is in the back of the property. So any suggestions there?
Yes. So a trick to bad eyesores in the back that most people don't look at is, first thing you want to do is put in a drip system on the back wall. Create another sub wall in front of the back wall, about 2 to 3 feet, fill it with dirt, and start planting trees along that entirety of that line of sight. Because it's going to take a year to get tall enough to block it out. So so you want to start off with that. By the time you're finished with the house, you'll have lush foliage that covers that building, hopefully.
You're so good at this. All right, let's talk about this business. You do have a development company. Do you call it development company?
Yeah, a real estate development company called R&B Luxury. Yep.
Okay, and it's with your dad and your brother?
Yep. That's my brother and my dad actually founded it, and my brother moved to San Francisco. So my dad and I and our designer run it now.
Oh, all right. So tell us a little bit about that. How did, I guess they started it, but how did they start that business?
So, good question. So we started the business actually in 2011, right when there was a huge recession in home prices here in Arizona. We lost about 60% of value at the top in 2008, and we did a lot of fix and flips. I mean, we were averaging 8 to 9 a week at one time. So it was a plug and play system, same granite, same flooring, same countertops in all the houses. And that model started to tighten and dry up as prices kept going up in our market, and the cost of capital obviously kept going up as well, and there were less opportunities. So we pivoted in about 2014 to high-end development, and we started to realize the luxury space is usually kind of the last to go, first to come back. When the markets come back a little stronger, and so. We started focusing on less volume, more margin. So we were able to cultivate a good brand following, create some iconic homes that got a lot of publicity and a lot of fanfare as far as magazine articles. We've been on Bloomberg, CNBC with some of our homes. And that creates a little more control, because the people at the high end, especially here in Arizona, that are spending $7, $8, $9 million for a house, they want what they want. It's not a question of price. It's a question of product. So as long as we can deliver that product in a timely manner, usually they're happy campers.
So are you building for someone, or are you building and then having someone buy it?
So we do both.
Okay.
So like for instance, the gentleman that co-founded EXP, Brian Colhane, we built his house as a client. So he approached us as a friend and said, we'd love for you to build our house. And we do that as well. But as you know, it's a marriage, right? So when you go through the permitting process, you got to make sure you have a really, really great relationship, because it will be tested at many points during that process, especially when you're going into a recession or tightened monetary times like we're in now, and where we've been the last 18 months, because it's a commitment. It's a marriage, right? It's almost like giving birth, right? The end is beautiful. You have a beautiful child, but the beginning, the middle is very difficult when you're going through those labor pains. So you want to make sure that you have the right partnership.
So have you ever been in a situation where you're building something and you have maybe a coming soon sign, or people find out and they say, you're not even done yet, but they're like, I want to buy it. And then they want to pick all their finishes and all that stuff. Do you deal with clients like that?
We did that actually in one of our last homes that we built in Paradise Valley.
And how'd that go?
It goes well. It goes well, but you usually leave a lot of money on the table. For instance, the last home that we did was right before COVID, actually. So we were building this $3 million house before COVID. COVID hit. We're all thinking, uh-oh, what do we do now? And the buyer wanted to move forward and we wanted to close. And so we closed the property, I believe, in the $3.5 million range. And then prices skyrocketed after that. And we left about $1 million on the table on that deal. Now, in hindsight, obviously we would have made a change, but we got a great friendship out of it. We got a real proud homeowner. And I think we got someone that was really proud of the product. So our business, especially in development, is risk mitigation. Understanding liquidity and understanding where your exits are is really important because you can't get greedy. You just have to do what's right and right in front of you and make sure that it's the most appropriate measure, in today's times.
Well, we're talking about some fantastic topics here. And some of the listeners, this is so beyond their scope. But to bring it down, what advice would you give people listening if they are flipping something on a lower level, say 350 to 400,000, and then somebody sees it and they want to buy it right there on the spot? First of all, my first question, do you think that's a good idea to go ahead and get something under contract before it's done? And my second part of that question is, would you allow them to pick finishes, and how do you kind of regulate that?
It depends. And it depends on the structure of the deal. The question is, number one, are they loan or are they cash? If they're a loan, no. If they're cash and they're willing to put 15 to 20% down non-refundable, then absolutely, I'd be happy to, do what they would like. But usually when it comes to high-end construction, I would use the same rules on a lower end flip. On lower end flips, especially when you have hard money in play at today's interest rates, I wouldn't take the risk of having someone control your product. I would do exactly what worked in the past and don't deviate because time is of the essence, especially when you're paying 9, 10, 11, 12% on the money. So I would not deviate and I would not take a flyer or a risk on someone that says they're going to pay this, but all they have is a 10% down payment. I wouldn't take that risk in today's market.
Thank you for that. And because we had a situation where someone wanted it before we finished it, and with advice from a coach of mine, which I always have coaches, was give them 3 choices for granite, quartz, whatever. Give them 3 choices for paint colors, and that's it. Something that you can still sell if they back out of the deal. So I thought that was a great nugget there as well. So you and I met at this event in Scottsdale, and one of your bullet points on here is the importance of networking. And some of the listeners are getting lost because they're like, oh, I never want to get my real estate license. I want to flip houses, or I will never get into the luxury. And don't say never, but networking applies to all of us. So tell us the importance of networking for you, especially.
It's everything. I think you realize strangers in this world have everything that you want. And unfortunately, some of the things you don't want. But in order to be successful and follow your dreams, you have to go out and meet people and not be afraid to be told no. If you remember some of the questions I asked Tarek from the stage, how do you keep going when you keep hearing the word no? I know a lot of investors listening in have that construct. I've been told no a lot in my life. And I think the answer to that question is the importance and the tenacity of your will to succeed has to outweigh the pain to obtain it. And so a lot of people, they just can't deal with the naysayers, to become, let's say, a YouTube influencer or an Instagram influencer or to hobnob with celebrities like Tarek. It's going to take a lot of doors shut in your face and a lot of people telling you no in order to get there. And that's okay. As Tarek alluded, he says, no's are common. You're going to have a lot of no's before you ever hear a yes. And so don't take that into account. If you have a dream, if you have a desire, if you have something in your life that burns inside of you that is life or death for you and your family, do everything you can to obtain it and don't take no for an answer. Legally.
I love that. And, a tip that I give some of my students is, I want you to go out and get 25 no's. They're like, what? I said, get 25 no's, and then maybe there might be a yes or two mixed in there. So I like that, kind of flipping it on people.
I got a question for you. I got a question, and I want to hear if you answer this the same way I would.
Okay.
So if you were asked these three things, one is what you know, the second is who you know, or the third is who knows you, what's the most important thing in this business?
Who I know.
See, I would answer it differently. It's who knows you is the way I would answer it. Because if someone that is important knows you and wants to use you and procure business with you, I think that is the differentiator, and having the ability to go out and meet people and really, think highly of you, which they do, Jen, by the way. You're a great speaker and a great coach.
Oh my gosh, I'll pay you later.
No, it's true. And the energy, right? You want people to say, oh, I love Jen. I want to do business with her. And for a lot of people, it's very difficult, but that's what I'd recommend.
People want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. Yes, I agree with that. But I'll give you a reason why I said who I know. And it's the book, Who Not How. Just knocked me on my ass. I was like, ugh. I am one of those who I wear all the hats in my business. I mean, my husband and I run the business together, but we wear all the hats, and it's kind of a control freak thing. And once I read that book, I'm like, why am I busting my ass doing all this when there are people who do this better than me? So that's where my answer came from, is who can help me to get to places there. So, but yes,
That's a good point. That's a very good point too.
I like your answer as well. Yeah. All right. So I want to wrap up this first part here with the story of the horse race allegory, which I had to Google what the fuck allegory meant, which is story or poem or something. Tell me the horse race story. Why you got to get all fancy on me? You high-end builder person, you. Go ahead.
No, I think it's important, because I think a lot of people listening in with social media and a lot of these other things, we see this amazing lifestyle, right? We see how Tarek lives, we see how Heather lives, we see celebrities and how they live, and we get caught up in, we want that too. We want, success in our lives and for our family. And one story I heard that I never forgot, that I think the audience can really attest to and really, be a part of, is the fact of this. Pretend you're a horse race in the Kentucky Derby, right? Kentucky Derby is actually this weekend in Kentucky. And so let's pretend you're a horse, right? It's the biggest race of your life, which is your life. And the gun goes off and you're running. Well, as a horse, you have blinders on. So you're not supposed to see the other horses. All you can see is what's in front of you. So you're running, which is our day-to-day lives. We are running our asses off, trying to be successful and do deals and put food on the table for our families. And we look up and we see horses in front of us, and we think, oh, geez, I'm behind. This person's far more successful than me. They're wealthier than me. They have more connections than me. I got to keep running. So you run, and you finally run across the finish line. The confetti goes off and you're crowned the winner. And you're thinking to yourself, how could I have been the winner when I was behind the whole time? And they said, oh, no, you were so far ahead of everyone else. You just didn't even know it. They were a lap behind you the whole time. And I'm thinking, that is life. It really is life. Stop comparing yourself to others and keep running your own race. That's the takeaway from that story.
Not story, but allegory.
Yeah, allegory, exactly.
Michael, I love that one. And I tell students a lot, because I deal with this. People are saying, oh, well, so-and-so's doing this, and they get that fear. And I'm like, just stop for a second, turn around and look at how far you've come, because some people forget to do that. So that was fantastic. The second part of the podcast is what makes Michael a badass, which you are. And I use the acronym BADASS. And the first letter is B for book. What's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
Oh boy, I think one of my favorite books of all time is Alice Schroeder's The Snowball, which is the authorized autobiography or biography of Warren Buffett's life. Great book, great story.
So it's an autobiography written
It's a biography.
Okay.
It's not an autobiography, because that means he would have wrote it himself, but it's a bio.
Maybe it was who not how who wrote. Okay. Anyway, I digress. All right. I got to check that out. I love Warren Buffett.
Great book.
Yes. All right. The first A in badass is for advice. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Best piece of advice is never equate your self-worth to your net worth. They're not inextricably linked. I learned that from my dad when he lost all of his money. He's made and lost 3 or 4 fortunes in his life. And you begin to realize your worth is what you contribute to this planet, what you contribute to other people, and how you help other people. And your net worth is going to fluctuate dramatically. Don't look at that. Look at the small wins that you have on a daily basis.
And you are providing a lot for our listeners today, just for a lot of this inspiration that you are giving us. So I do appreciate that. All right. The D in badass is for drive. What drives you to be successful?
Boy, that's a good question. I think a lot of it is fear of failure, to be honest with you. Growing up, I really had a fear of failure and a fear of poverty. That's why I ran completely in the opposite direction. And unfortunately, and I say this to the listeners, I think when you're trying to run from something bad as opposed to run towards something good, you miss the journey. And so I'm trying to recalibrate that construct of saying life is great, life is wonderful, we are blessed in an abundance. And when we look at that life glass half full, good things happen, and stop worrying about things that are in front of you. It'll work itself out.
Wonderful. All right. The second A in badass is aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what's a goal you are currently working on?
Boy, that's a good one. I think to help as many people as possible. Like I'm an author, I've helped, sold 20,000 copies of my book and helped a lot of people across the United States with relationships. And so my goal has always been to help people become the best version of themselves so they can attract the best in others. That's always been my mantra, and I hope to help spread that to as many people as possible.
What is the title of your book?
How to Be Irresistible. So it's a book for women, but a lot of men secretly read it as well.
Well, I mean, I was drawn to meeting who the hell you were. So you were a little irresistible to me too. All right. So you exude that. I like that. All right. The first S in badass is for systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
Daily deposits. So one of the biggest things that I preach is anything that's a big goal in your life, break it down, do daily action, and make sure that you're accountable to that. I call them the 3 Bs: brain, body, and business. You need to have all three working for you. And if your brain is not thinking positive thoughts, your body isn't working out and in the peak physical condition, your business won't be either. So those are the 3 things I'd focus on as a listener.
And I like calling it a deposit. And we saw David Steinberg on stage and talk about being
Fantastic.
1% better every single day. And that's can be considered a deposit as well. I love that. That was, this weekend was so great. Listeners, if you ever have an opportunity to go to a flipping summit, a presentation, anything with Tarek, you've got to check it out. It was so good. I'm still like on this super high for it. All right. The final S in badass is success. What does success mean to you?
Success means to me being the best version of who you can be and uplifting others around you as well. I think personalized success, keeping promises that you made to yourself. We all have childhood dreams. We all have things that secretly we want, but we come up with reasons and excuses why we can't get them. It's better to have achieved them and not need them than it is to have wondered what it would have been if we got them in the first place. So keep the promises you made to yourself, stretch, meet new people, take chances, and do what you're called to do. And even if you fail, you did it, you tried, you learned. It's a lot better than not having tried at all.
So well said. And you heard me, Michael, at the beginning of this say a badassery bestowment, which is just a little nugget for the listeners. Do you have a badassery bestowment you can share with the listeners?
I think one of my favorite quotes is from Henry David Thoreau. So it's launch yourself in every way, find your eternity in each moment, meaning you only have one life to live. So, move quickly, fail quickly, don't live a life full of regret. So many people do. And don't be afraid of failure, because I'll save you the suspense. We're all going to fail, but just keep getting up and keep trying. And eventually you're going to hit your stride and you're going to have success. And it's the journey with the people that you care about and love that makes it most valuable. It's not the wins. It's not the material items. It's the people you surround yourself with.
Well, I am happy to be surrounding myself with you today. And one thing that I have to just share with the audience, what is so great about you, I said, hey, are you selling something? What are we trying to do here? And you're like, no, I just want to provide, value to your listeners. And that's just shows me how genuine and amazing you are. And in real estate, people think that it's this cutthroat industry where it is just the opposite in my book. You are so many people that want to help each other out, and you are just proving that point. And so I thank you for sharing your wisdom with us today. And thank you for giving me the nuggets on my future luxury home that I'm going to build. And I just appreciate you being here. So Michael, how can the listeners find you if they have questions for you?
Easiest way is probably on Instagram at Michael, B as in boy, Anovac. So you can follow me on Instagram. I'll follow you back and just DM me. And I check that once every day or two and love to help because I think we're here to serve, and Jen's a great coach. She's a great teacher. So listen to what she has to say and you're going to go far.
Well, I thank you so much for being here, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Have a great day.
Yes, and that is all. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.